Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jump and today I'll be reviewing Viewfinder, which was released back in 2023. Now this game is a weird game compared to the other ones that I've played, because a lot of the games I've played are like either action orientated or simple level to level designs, and Viewfinder is a is similar to like Mario or Sonic or Crash Bandicoot in that you go from level to level and you have to focus on small particular puzzles. But for this game, for Viewfinder, you are given pictures and you have to try and use them to like progress to the next one because you have to um, go on to the teleporter and then uh, and somehow manipulate the world into getting to that particular teleporter, and you can do that by using pictures or taking pictures or manipulating the world in some way to get to the teleporter. And throughout each of the levels and throughout each of the areas, you'll find out different bits of lore about the people who made this world, because the entire concept of the levels that you're in are in this simulation. And you do have a person on the outside who does give you some advice every now and again. And this whole game is really, really trippy, and it's so fun. It's one of those games where it's like you hear about it and it's like, that can't happen. You can't make a photo into reality or something like that. And when you try it out, you can actually do it, and it's really fun. And I do like the use of the physics that the world around you uses, because when you place down a photo or an image or whatever, it'll take away bits of the world as well as being in the sort of like area that you place it in. So, for example, if I placed the picture in front of me, it'll be in front of me. The placed picture will be in front of me, but it'll be in the general location that I placed it in. So, for example, in one of the levels, in some of the levels, you have to make some bridges, but for one of them, you have to try and angle it right in terms of where you need to place the bridge. And then once you've placed the picture, the bridge will appear. And that's so cool. And you can also change the way the pictures look. So, for example, there's some levels where you might need the picture to be upside down to go across, or on its side, or just be normal, that sort of thing. And throughout some of the levels, each area you go to changes a bit. So, for example, in the third area, you have to make sure that you capture a particular area, because you can't really place down specific pictures because it'll be absorbed by, or not absorbed, but like it'll be put in front of some of the areas because it's purple-ish. I'll probably show you right now what I'm talking about when it comes to those particular levels. But it's so cool in terms of how each of the levels are done and how they can be solved and stuff like that. And it's really cool and interesting to hear about what the inventors were working on. And you do get to see some of their notes that they left around. For example, there's a puzzle in which you have to try and figure out how to get the battery out of the cage. Well, there's a cage and there's a battery inside the cage, and you have to try and make sure, or have to think, okay, how do I make sure that the battery is on where the teleporter is? And it's really cool of thinking outside the box and thinking, okay, if I can't take the battery outside of the cage, maybe I can bring the teleporter and the battery area where you place the battery on to the battery. And that's really cool. And I think it's one of those games that really takes thinking outside the box in terms of how you progress through each level. So yeah, and now it's time for some gameplay. So in each of the areas, they're all based on something that the scientists like, or something like that. So like you've got the planets here, so you can find like particular planets in each of the levels. So for example, if I can find them, here we go. Here are some of the collectibles you can find. So like in this area you can find planets. In the previous area, or one of the areas, you can find magnets, and they're all based on something that the scientists like. And each area has a certain amount of terminals, and each terminal might have a certain amount of levels. So this one only has 1 level, and then this one has 4. And once you've beaten an area or particular level, you can choose which level you want to go to. And that's really cool. And that's, I think that's really fun, and I do like how each level is uniquely different. So, for example, if I go into this level, you're brought into the level, and you're given a particular puzzle. So, for example, you're given this particular picture, which is a terminal, and has a different speaker, or a speaker, and some microphones. And I think it's quite simple. You basically just have to photocopy this particular picture into here, and then you have to use, for example, let's say I want to use the speaker. I might want to switch photos, and then do like this, and then switch this particular one to here, place it down here, and then I can activate this, and then go to the thing. But I can't really do it because because if I go onto the platform there, I can't really go to here. So it's all about using the environment around you, and using the different pictures that you collect in order to activate the terminal and go to the next part of the level. And also, if you press circle, you can go backwards to a particular part of the level. So that's really cool. And also, if you double tap circle, it'll go super fast. So you'll go back to a particular part, or a part of the level where you place down a picture. And also, I forgot to mention this, you can find the planets. So as I mentioned before, you can find the planets, but I forgot to mention that some of the levels will contain the planets. So I've collected Saturn for this. So if I go back, now I just need to photocopy this a few more times. There we go. And this will be the final time I'll be able to use a photo. So each photocopy and each camera that you find will have a certain amount of uses. But with the camera, you can find film, so they can use to get extra film and take extra photographs. But you can, if you want to, use the photos, or use a photo to duplicate stuff, which I think is quite cool. Which means that if you want to get like extra film, you can, depending on how much film you have, you can duplicate it to get more. So that's quite cool. So for this, let's say I want to use this particular photo. So this will be our base for the terminal, and then might want to use this particular photo. Let's say, if I move back a bit and line it up about here-ish. And you've got to remember that each photo has depth. So I can't really use this because I can't really place any of the other photos because this won't reach this microphone. So to go back and then move back a bit more and maybe to the right a bit, and that should... Oh no, I can't use it because I've destroyed the speaker or the microphone, which will lead to the teleporter. So now go back, go to the right again a bit, and that should leave... Yeah, there we go. So it's all about depth and learning how to use the environment around you. So now I can switch it around and then place this particular one here. Oh, again, it's all about learning how to like use the environment. So always make sure that you've got a good position for each of the pictures that you have, and they don't uh, and that they don't interfere with other things. So now, well, I need to make sure that you do get to the next area, because there are some things that you have timers. So now I've teleported. And I forgot to mention, there's a cat in this level, called Kate, and you will find him some of the level. I think throughout the entire game, and he will talk to you, and he will ask you several questions about the characters or the scientists that you hear about throughout the course of the game. And also, there's also a train or a train cart that you can find that will appear, and after like the first area, and you can. So to this, unless they want to go to the first area, I'll take you all the way back to the area that you chose. And also there's like the tunnel, which is here, which is really cool. It's really trippy because when you go through it, it'll be like you'll be in the particular area, and then you'll be in the tunnel for a bit, and then you'll come out to like the next area, and then the area after that. It's really trippy. Like, as I said before, it's really trippy. It's one of those games that's quite trippy, and it's just like, like really think about how the game works and stuff like that. So, yeah. So overall, it's a really fun game. The gameplay is really, really cool, and I do like how each area is based on something different, and that's a really, really cool thing that the game does. Like, again, you have to really think about how the game plays and how you have to think outside the box. So yeah, so that's been it for the gameplay. Now it's time to go back to the review. So overall, I would say that Viewfinder is one of those games that's really fun, and I do like how it's a game that if you want to know more about the lore, you have to try and go through each level and find the different microphones things that you find across each of the levels, and just hear about what thoughts the scientists have on their mind at a particular moment. And it's really interesting and cool. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of early games or games that have not a huge amount of flaw in when you're going from like start to end, but it's one of those games that's like, it has bits of flaw scattered throughout, and it's up to you if you want to hear those bits of flaw of what the story is and could possibly be. And it's a really, really fun game, and it's one of those mind-bending games that's like weird, but it's in a fun way. And it's like, again, it's one of those games that's really takes thinking outside the box in terms of how you do each of the puzzles and how you might approach each one, even though they all lead the same way. I think it's one of those games like you have to really, really think about the entire area that you're in, and it's a really fun game, and it's just one of those games that's like you get every so often in terms of it's a game that you just that seems interesting to play from the concept and from what you've been told and stuff like that, and it's a really, really fun game. It's just one of those silly games, well, not silly games, but fun games. I think I was trying to go with that. Yeah, really fun games that you might want to just play for a bit and just like figure out how to do each level and each puzzle and find every single collectible in each of the areas. So yeah, so that's been my review for Viewfinder. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.